Hello, everyone. Allow me a moment, please. Hi, folks. We are back, and this is the prayer which leads immediately into the Shema in the morning service every single day of the year. It's called Ahava Rabbah, based on the first two words, Ahava Rabbah. Ahava is the Hebrew word for love. Rabbah means much or many, in this case, obviously much. And so this speaks of much love. Last week, we studied the Vahavienu Leshalom, which is the conclusion of the Ahava Rabbah blessing, the entire page. It's obviously, as you see, 16 lines here, is considered one blessing. The entire page is one blessing, and we know that because it ends with Baruch Atah in God's name. So this is called a bracha. This is an entire bracha, this whole page. And as I said, you already know Vahavinu L'Shalom. So we're going to practice the Ahava Rabbah part. Ahava Rabbah Ahav Tanu Adonai. Remember, that's Adonai. It's a printer's convention of shortening the famous four-letter name of God into two. And Yud becomes very powerful. Yud is the smallest letter in the Hebrew in terms of the letters, the size of the letters of the Aleph Bet. And so here we have the smallest letter, and it's doubled. And the smallest letter contains the greatest, the vastness of the identity of God, which of course can't be in any way limited or conveyed or contained. So back to this. Ahava Rabbah Ahav Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Teira Hamalta Aleinu Avinu Malkenu. That's a very famous phrase. Avinu Malkenu. Avinu means our father. Malkenu means our king or our sovereign. And Avinu Malkenu is in many different prayers throughout the entire Jewish tradition. And we're now 2 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah. And there's a very famous prayer that's recited or chanted from the days of Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur. It's known as the Avinu Malkenu. And that Avinu Malkenu is a list of some perhaps 25 or 30 lines, and each sentence begins with the term Avinu Malkenu. Here we are inside Ahava Rabbah with the term Avinu Malkenu, our Father, our Sovereign. Ba'avur Avotenu. Avotenu means our ancestors. Shebatchu V'cha Vatilamdem, Chukei Chayim, Chayim means life. Kain Techanenu, Utelamdenu, Avinu Ha'av, line 4, Harachaman, Hamirachem, Rachem, Aleinu. Aleinu means upon us. It's a very common term, and it's found in many different parts of Jewish tradition. And there's actually a very famous prayer named the Aleinu, and it is chanted or recited or sung at the end of every Jewish service throughout the year. It's called the Aleinu. But I wish to go back for just a moment to 3 words at the beginning of line number 4. Harachaman, Hamirachem, Rachem. And hopefully you see the pattern here. You see the Resh, the Chet, the Mem. the resh, the chet, the mem, the resh, the chet, the mem. And obviously in these two words, the mem is the final mem. In this first word, it's the regular mem, but it's the same word. Resh, chet, mem, resh, chet, mem, resh, chet, mem. Resh, chet, mem means compassion. Some people translate it as mercy. So line 4 is Harachaman, the compassionate one or the merciful one, Hamarachem, who does compassion, who does mercy, Rachem Aleinu. This is a command. Bring compassion, mercy upon us. Harachaman, Hamarachem, Rachem. And because Hebrew is constructed in a certain way, not only do we see letters in certain patterns, but we also hear sounds. And much of Hebrew poetry takes hold of similarity in sound. In English, we would speak of alliteration or assonance and so on. In Hebrew, we have harachaman hamarachem rachem, and that catches us. And we find it here too in Etain bilibenu lahavin, laba bilibenu, in our hearts lahavin, to understand. Ula haskil, lishmoa, lilmod, ulilamed. Lishmoa, lilmod, ulilamed. These two words are related. Lilmod, lilamed. Lilmod means to learn. Lilamed means to teach. Lamod, lamed. Lamod, lamed. They're related. Learn and teach in Hebrew are mirror images of each other. Lishmor v'la'asot, lishmor v'la'asot, ulekayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava. Let's review lines 1 to line 6 without my interrupting myself. Here's the melody. Fairly typical. You may hear it depending on the synagogue that you attend or participate with. Ahava rabba avtanu Adonai Eloheinu Hamla gdola v'tera chamalta aleinu Avinu malkeinu ba'avur avotenu Shabbatchu v'cha Avinu malkeinu. Line 3. V'telamdem chukei chaim kein techanenu utelamdenu Avinu ha'av harachaman hamarachem rachem aleinu. Line 4. V'tein b'libeinu lahavin no lahaskil lishmoa lilmod ulilamed lishmor v'lasut ulekayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha ba'ava. Let's take a little break and look at lines 6, 7, 8 for the V'ha'er Einenu, 6, 7, 8, 9. V'ha'er Einenu, B'toratecha. Hopefully you recognize this word. This is with Toratecha, your Torah, with your Torah. V'dabek, libenu, B'mitzvotecha, your mitzvot, your commandments, O God. V'yached levavenu, unify our hearts. La'ahava u'yirah et shemecha, V'yached levavenu la'ahava ul yira et shemecha. Unify our hearts to love you and to revere your name. To love and revere your name. V'lo nevosh la'olam va'ed. V'lo nevosh la'olam va'ed. Let us never be embarrassed. Ki v'shem kadshecha. Because of the name of your holiness, Hagadol v'hanara batachnu, which is great and awesome. We are trusting in, literally, we are trusting in your great and awesome holy name. Nagila v'nismecha, Nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. We are joyous and happy over your help and your deliverance. So V'ha'erinenu, lines 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's another melody that you may hear in synagogue. It's fairly typical and fairly popular. V'ha'erinenu b'toratecha v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu la'ahava u'yira et shemecha v'ha'erinenu b'toratecha v'dabek libenu b'mitzvotecha v'yached levavenu la'ahava u'yira et shemecha V'lo nevosh le'olam va'ed, v'lo nevosh le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem kadshecha hagadol v'hanara batachnu, nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. That's the V'ha'erinenu, and then of course we go back to the V'havienu, which we learned last week. It goes as follows. V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tulichenu komemiyot le'artzenu. Ki el poel Yeshuot ata, uvanu v'charta mikolam v'lashon, v'keraftanu l'shimcha hagadol, sela be'emet. L'hodot l'cha, ol yachercha ba'ahava. 16. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael, be'ahava. People might say, Amen, when you hear a blessing, a Baruch atah line. As a member of the congregation, you say Amen. Amen is a very short and simple word. It means I endorse, I acknowledge, I affirm. You could say, I agree. And that's what we're saying when somebody spontaneously says Amen when hearing a blessing. The person who says Amen is agreeing with whatever the blesser just said. It's interesting that within our Jewish tradition, we place a great deal of weight on the speaker and the listener. Much of Jewish prayer has to do with and deal with how we interact with each other within the prayer service. Well, that's enough right now. I've given you a lot to consider, and we'll meet next week. Until we see each other again, Li Trot Shalom, blessings upon you. Bye for now.